On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the basketball offseason is officially here. Sad times, middle of summer. The draft is coming up. We can touch on that a little bit, but it dawned on me waking up this morning, now that the finals are over, the next meaningful basketball that will be played will probably be the FIBA World Cup in late August, which a lot of people listening, a lot of people watching would say that does not count as meaningful basketball. As a reminder, the United States, the last time we played in a basketball World Cup, we sent NBA players. We finished 7th in 2019. And, I've been sounding the alarm about this forever. And, it's going to get worse as Victor Wembanyama enters the league. But we coming off of an NBA Finals where Nikola Jokic dominates everyone. Giannis is also very, very good, even though, the Bucks lost in the first round. We live at a time when it's time to get serious about United States basketball. And unfortunately, I feel like basketball fans in this country are fair weather fans where when we're winning, they puff their chests out. We say, kiss our ass, the rest of the world, we're better than you at basketball. When we lose, we all say, that tournament didn't actually matter anyway. We don't care. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try to talk myself into getting 7th in this last World Cup is an absolute disaster. We can't do this. And I think it's time to start getting serious. But anyway, that's not until late August. If you want to count Summer League, that's coming up. But unfortunately, everybody knows that Summer League peaked in 2019 when Zion Williamson stole the ball from Kevin Knox and then literally caused an earthquake by dunking it, and then basically never played another second of Summer League basketball. And that was it. And then Summer League has sucked ever since then. And Paolo last year was kind of good for a second. Then they shut him down. I don't know. That would be cool if all this great draft class participates in Summer League, but even Summer League is falling into the sit guys out load management shit. So Summer League used to be awesome. I don't even know if Summer League's good anymore. We're gonna have to wait till the end of August. So here we are in the off season. I will say this though: the NBA draft is next week. I want to do today my pre-preview. This is not the preview. This is the preview of the preview. Next week, we will do the preview. I'm going to reach out to Sam Vecini. He will come on the show. He is the one guy I want to talk to about the draft. He's the best in the business at it. I saw he put out his top 100 big board. I think it's his final one. He puts out a bunch of different iterations. 100,000 words plus every single year. This man is an absolute maniac when it comes to the draft. And I gotta spend the weekend reading through it, digesting what's going on in the draft, but also kind of coming to conclusions on some of my takes I'm baking up about this draft. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. So we're gonna do a pre-preview. I'm gonna do 3 big thoughts heading into next week. 3 things that I want to talk about as I'm trying to conceptualize what my NBA draft takes will be. Because I gotta cut. That's one of the joys of talking to Sam. Is Sam knows so much more than I do, but every time I talk to him going into a draft, I just I got to have takes ready. Last year I was really hard on Max Christie, and I don't know. I feel good about that one. I don't know. That one seemed so far so good. But I remember fighting with him last year. He had Max Christie pretty high, and I was like, Sam, what are we doing here? So I got to read through Sam's shit. I got to kind of fully form my own opinions, and then we'll do a preview next week. But today I'm going to do a pre-preview. Also, I was boots on the ground at LA Country Club on Tuesday for U.S. Open practice. I love the U.S. Open. It might be my favorite major in golf, even though if you ask me at any other time than this week, I would say it's the Masters, just because the Masters is always at the perfect time of year, right after the Final Four, and gets you excited about, it's just the perfect time of year. But really, when it comes down to it, it really is the U.S. Open. I really think I love the U.S. Open on Father's Day in June. I love the course. I love that every course seems to be really difficult. So I had an opportunity this week to go check out practice. And by opportunity, I mean someone was just like, "Hey man, I'm running over to the course. You want to go to practice with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I should totally do that." I went over. I made a ton of notes, TJ. I have a ton of notes. Being boots on the ground, watching these guys do practice rounds at the LA Country Club, and I figured since it's the off season, I might as well share them. So, gonna do that a little bit, maybe a little College World Series, some other stuff. I think we did a mail. Are we doing a mailbag? Did we do we threw out a prompt for questions at least? I saw. So I don't know. Maybe we'll touch on some of that. It's an off season show, which means it's a fun show. I'm fired up about it because off season shows are always the best, and we're about to learn together why that is the case. So let's get into it. All right, NBA draft pre-preview. Again, this is not the preview. This is only the preview of the preview. This is some of the things that I'm bouncing around in my head right now as I'm getting ready to do the preview next week. I wrote down 3 big thoughts. This is the 3 things. A couple of these, honestly, the first 2 I could probably just do every single year, but you know, whatever. We're here now, so I'm going to do them this year as well. The first big thought I have going into this draft is trust nobody. And what I mean by that is that no reporter has any idea what the fuck is going on. And anybody that tries to tell you that this team is interested in this guy and here's why, they're lying to you. We all know this. Like, everybody knows how this business works. We all know how the Scoops games works. We all know that these guys are being fed. Either there's 2 camps of Scoops guys. There's the guys that are being fed stuff by the teams, by the GMs, by whatever, and then they have to now regurgitate what they've been told. But then it's also like, are the teams giving them good information? Or are they doing smoke screens and using them as a mouthpiece to be a smoke screen? And then there are the guys that have the ends with the players themselves, with the agents themselves. And then they start putting out shit about the players to say, like, this guy had a great workout at this place and his stock is soaring. And that's all manufactured bullshit as well, because the Scoops guy is trying to pump the tires of the player because he's got a relationship with the agent. We all know this. Okay? But what happens around the draft is that we all forget it momentarily. We all like fall into the same traps of the headlines of this guy worked out for this team and it seems like they're really interested in him, but this other guy had a bad workout, so maybe they're going to trade the pick. Whatever else. I just want to remind everybody that what the Scoops game is, and B, even a guy like Woj, who gets just like rock hard at the thought of spoiling the NBA draft. As a reminder, this man who knows more than anything, who is an absolute guy. The NBA, let's be honest, would fall apart without Adrian Wojnarowski tweeting shit 30 seconds before a press release is released. The NBA would cease to exist. This man is doing the Lord's work and keeping the NBA afloat. As a reminder, people forget, last year Adrian Wojnarowski was reporting up until like 30 seconds before the number 1 pick was made that it would be Jabari Smith to the Orlando Magic. Jabari Smith is going to Orlando Magic. Jabari Smith to the Orlando Magic. Ah, shit. Wait. What's that? Yeah, it feels like how did he say it? The winds are changing. The winds are blowing. It's the season of change. And the way he worded it, which was preposterous, and then Adam Silver announces that it's Paolo Banchero, number 1 to the Magic. But Woj, of course, tries to pass it off of like, yeah, I knew that. I actually knew that. It wasn't that I was wrong about Jabari. It was that they were going to take Jabari, but then 30 seconds before they made the pick, they actually changed their mind. So I was actually right the whole time. But the reminder here is, as we're going into a draft, Wembanyama's going 1 to the Spurs. They're not trading the pick. They're not picking anybody else. That is pretty set in stone, obviously. Charlotte gets really interesting, and that's where this draft will become interesting. That is the inflection point of the draft, is at number 2. And the prevailing thought for most of the season up until, I don't know, February. When was it that like Brandon Miller really, I mean, honestly, like not to I don't think it has anything to do with it, but I really do think it was like right around the time the whole murder situation and Brandon Miller's ties to that, all that sort of thing. I can't believe I'm saying these words, but I cannot believe I'm saying this. I'm just being, I honestly believe this. I think that may have actually sort of helped his draft stock, because I think he got his name in the news so much. There were so many eyeballs on Alabama that then I feel like I have so many NBA people that the first Brandon Miller game they really locked in on was when he played at South Carolina, and that man played out of his mind in that South Carolina game, that I really think that like it helped his draft. But before that, I would say Scoot Henderson was the obvious number 2 pick if such a thing existed. It was like, yeah, it's going to be Scoot. Then Brandon Miller's playing well, and like now all of a sudden we're looking up with a week before the draft, and Charlotte becomes very interesting because there's a million different directions they could take this. I think Scoot feels like, I'm not an insider. I'm just reading the tea leaves here. Scoot feels like if you were to poll all the GMs, like who are the best players, never mind the fit, never mind who you're going to take, whatever else, like who do you just actually think is the second best player? I think Scoot would win that vote, but there are questions about how he would fit with LaMelo Ball. There are questions about how much do you care about how he would fit with LaMelo Ball. Is that something you should even be factoring in at this point? Shouldn't the NBA? This is not the NFL. Isn't the NBA more structured to just like take the best player and figure it out later? And what's the harm in having two awesome guards? And okay, so yeah, they might both want the ball in their hands at all times. What's the harm in that? That is a good problem to have. But maybe they don't want to deal with that. Maybe there's a world where like they have inside intel that LaMelo Ball is like not even a long-term Charlotte Hornet. Like he's like, I kind of hate it here and I want to be traded. I want to demand a trade to the Knicks or the Lakers or the Heat or whoever else was always in the mix for, I guess it's not the Knicks, it's the Nets, right? And maybe there's something like that where there's like, who cares if he's going to fit with LaMelo Ball, because we don't think LaMelo Ball is going to be here for the next 10 years anyway, so we're going to take Scoot Henderson and build around him. I don't know, but that is why Charlotte is so juicy right now, is because there's a million different things they could do. They could take Brandon Miller. They could trade the Pelicans. There's rumors now that the Pelicans might want to send Zion Williamson to Charlotte so they can get the number 2 pick, and then they can build around Scoot Henderson, which, you know, makes a lot of sense and seems like there's some validity to that, because Zion Williamson played at Duke, and the Hornets are like the Pacers and other franchises where it does seem like they get enamored by like the local. I don't know, the Pacers don't do it as well, but the Hornets really do feel like they just draft like Duke guys and Carolina, like they always give it. that seems very, maybe it's just confirmation bias, but it seems like anybody coming out of Duke or North Carolina, the Charlotte Hornets have very high on their big board compared to the rest of the league. So I know Zion Williamson's not coming out of Duke. He's been in the league for a while, but at a time when Zion Williamson's stock has maybe never been lower, the Charlotte Hornets are the one franchise that are like, hell yeah, sign us up for the Duke guy that everybody loves in the state of North Carolina. Which I guess North Carolina fans might not, but Zion was the one Duke guy that I think broke through. I think even Carolina fans, I think they even still are like, yeah, we don't hate Zion. Zion was...
I don't know. He was like the biggest star in college basketball, and he was playing across town. I feel like it drew a lot of attention. Like the president came to their games, but I would say...
I don't think he was hateable, though. He wasn't hateable. He wasn't. There's nothing to hate about him. There's like, I mean, because if there was nothing to hate about. I'm talking about his 1 year at Duke. Like nobody... I don't think there were... I don't know. I'm not a Carolina fan, but I would imagine... As far as like first team All-Americans that played at Duke, if you poll Carolina fans, like who's your favorite first team All-American that played at Duke, if you had to pick one, I'm sure a lot of them would say Zion, right? Like he seemed, Grant Hill is the other one that's like kind of, he just seemed like to transcend the Duke bullshit. Like he was his own thing. He was like, just because he wore a Duke jersey, he was, I don't know.
Who else was on that Duke team that would be the hated? It was RJ?
Yeah. I mean, it was RJ came. That team was so fun. I love that. That was like one of my favorite Duke teams. Duke 2019 roster. Let me remind myself here. I mean, Trey Jones, kind of Jack White. No, I get kind of Jack White, but not really. Jack White is because he's the token white guy that got burned on that team. Joey Baker was on the roster, but I don't remember how much he actually played for them. Yeah, AOC is the answer. AOC is the answer. Yeah, Alex O'Connell is definitely the answer. But that was a likable Duke team. Where were we? Charlotte. Yeah, so Charlotte is the number 2. Number 2 is the moment for the draft. That is like the pick that everybody's going to pretend like they have an angle on. Everybody's going to pretend like they have some sort of scoop. Like I heard this about this, and I think Charlotte's leaning this way. And some people will be right. Some people will be wrong. My whole point, my whole thing in reminding the listeners and the viewers, TJ, is that this is all just bullshit. This is all just like a bullshit game that happens every draft, and we all get sucked into it. And I'm just here to remind you, you do not have to get sucked into this. You don't have to read the rumors. You do not have to believe any of the rumors. Even if they seem very, very credible, you could still just be like, I don't know. I don't need, because ultimately, the draft is more fun if we don't know what's going to happen. And I think like this is my frustration as I've gotten older and I continue to watch NBA drafts, and I continue to say like, why was this more fun when I was younger? And then I say, well, it's probably because everything was more fun when you're younger, and you're just turning into a crusty old asshole. But I do think that like having this scoops scoops industry we live in, I think it's just ruined the draft. Not only on draft night, obviously, when Woj is tweeting out the picks before they happen, but I'm like leading up to the draft, this race for everybody to have like some sort of inside info about what guys are going to do. It's so much more fun to just sit down on Thursday, turn on the TV, be like, all right, I know Victor Wembanyama is going one, and I don't know that because of scoops that I read. I know that because this man has been called the best prospect maybe in the history of basketball. So, all right, we know he's going number one. After that, who the hell knows what's going to happen in the draft? And then when it happens, it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun to like. Last year was actually I'm happy that Woj was so wrong because it made it so freaking fun when they announced Paolo. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I thought it was going to be Jabari Smith. Woj, what happened? And he was like, I told you 10 seconds ago. The winds of change shifted.
It will be fun to see between Woj and Shams how early one of them is going to put out their like breaking tweet or their official announcement tweet, because like they both have it probably drafted already, but who's gonna win that scoop off? Somebody's going to
the number two. You mean
you know that they keep score against each other, like somebody or number one. I'm saying like how early do they get to tweet the Spurs are selecting?
That's true. Yeah, they already.
You can tweet it now and it'd be true, but there's nothing like that. You can't report that story and have it be like factually backed yet. Somebody's going to put it out, whether it's 5 minutes before the pick or an hour before the pick. That's what I'm watching for.
Should we tweet? My sources are telling me it's going to be Victor Wembanyama at 1. And just like, credit Mark
Scoop
Titus
City,
show.
yeah,
Scoop City.
But now, if you do it now, it's a joke. There's a line in the timeline where it's like, oh, this is the report, like this is the evidence.
Right. Portland at number 3 is super interesting, by the way. That Damian Lillard is both like not wanting to be traded, but also suspiciously mentioning the Miami Heat way too often, where he's like, yeah, I would play for the, like every time I see this man, a quote out of Damian Lillard's mouth since the season's ended, he's like, I would love to, like, he's just buying groceries and he's just telling the checkout lady, he's like, yeah, I would love to play for the Heat. And she's like, I never asked, Dame. And he's like, oh, I didn't, I just thought you should know that, yes, I would love, if I was traded to the Heat, that'd be really cool. So like the train of thought of, the two trains of thought with Portland is like, are you going to trade Damian Lillard and build for the future and keep the pick and like try to draft someone at number 3? This is a deep draft, and whether it's basically it's probably going to be Scoot or Brandon Miller, right? The one that Charlotte, or if the Pelicans move up to number 2, whoever moves up to number 2 doesn't take. Do you take whoever is left out of those big 3 guys, or do you? Do you trade Dame and then build around the pick, or do you trade the pick to try to get a veteran somewhere to play with Dame, to keep Dame in Portland? Again, people are going to say they know what they're going to do. I'm sure there are people that are credible, and like there's probably there's probably people listening to this, TJ, that are like, dude, I can't believe you don't know the story. Like, the story is they're going to do this. I'm here to tell you I don't want to know the story. I'm here to tell you it's far more fun on draft night to have no idea what the hell is going on, and I just want to encourage people to. I just want to tell people you can still consume the draft that way. There's still a world where you can do this, because I do it every year to the best of my ability, where I like try to block out some of the stuff like you have to know, like I being in the business and doing draft shows like this, like you kind of do want to talk about what teams might do, and I don't know. But I try to like shut off as much as possible. I try to shut off the certainty. I'll put it that way, TJ. I dabble in I want to know like what the possibilities are, but I don't want to know what the final decisions are. I don't want anybody to tell me that they're definitely going to do this. The draft is so much more fun otherwise. So that's my first big thought, is like let's agree as a show. 1, we're not going to trust anybody anyway, but 2, even if we did want to trust them, we are tuning it out because it'll make for a more fun draft. And it's a deep draft. It's so this draft is going to be awesome, and there's so many different guys that could go 4th, 5th, 6th. I want to be surprised. I just want to be surprised. That's all.
We should start a campaign to have people mute Woj and Shams for one night only.
Dude, mute them forever. I've been starting for. I'm the guy that says these guys stink and serve no purpose, but I don't know. I don't seem to be really getting anywhere with that. So that was one big thought, which again applies to every draft, but I think this draft in particular, because of having Charlotte at 2 and Portland at 3, who could take their number 2 and 3 picks a million different directions. And having such a deep draft, especially at the top, like the top. Whatever. When Sam was on the show last time, he said like top 8 or 9 guys could maybe go number 1 next year. If they had come out next year, I think that just that creates like this ecosystem of just like the Scoops people are so desperate to figure out what's going to happen. And I just think this year in particular, outside of Wembanyama going 1, it feels like the Scoops guys are going to be going bananas trying to figure it all out. And I just want to remind everybody, don't play that game. So that's number 1. Number 2, again, I say this every year, but it feels especially true this year. This is a pivotal draft in the war on college basketball. This is, if you're looking at any of these mock drafts, if you're looking at any of the big boards, anything that has to do with this 2023 NBA draft, if you are a diehard college basketball fan and you don't really pay attention to anything else going on in the world of basketball, you are scratching your head saying, what the fuck is this? Who are these names? Where did this come from? Victor Wembanyama at the top. Scoot Henderson's a G League guy. The Thompson twins playing at Overtime Elite. There are other dudes from France too. Like some of them are on Vic's team. Some of them aren't. But like there are like 3 or 4 dudes from France who could go first round. Leonard Miller out of the G League is a name that people keep talking. Like some people are high on, some people aren't. But he could be in the first round. Meanwhile, like even the guys that are, we talked about this going into the NCAA tournament, but even the guys that are in college that you might know, like they're not, unlike like usually the college like one and done guys are at least like relevant and on great teams and stuff. And Brandon Miller, yes, was on the number 1 team in the country, but outside of that, like you got like Cam Whitmore, who might go 4th in this draft, played for a Villanova team that was not very good. And so when you look at it that way, like none of the freshmen were really like that relevant as compared to when you look back on the one and done era that started in 2007 up until now. Like this group of freshmen in college basketball might have been the least relevant we've ever had, and yet they're all like going to be very high draft picks. So it's not to say they're not good. It's just like whatever team they ended up on or whatever their story became in college was not quite as relevant. So yeah, it's gonna the divide is growing, TJ. I continue to ring the 2 alarms that I'm just ringing like crazy are USA basketball could be in trouble in the future. We're not guaranteed to win gold medals like we used to be, even if we do send our best players. Because the past, when we've lost gold medals, we've just tried to like shrug our shoulders and say, well, we didn't send our best players anyway. So like if we would have actually sent the dream team, we would have smoked everybody. I'm saying there could be a world in the not too distant future where we send like the 12 best players we have in this country and we still don't win the gold medal. And then the other one is that the gulf between college basketball and the NBA continues to get wider and wider. And I think this draft is pivotal. I think we need Jordan Hawkins to go top 10. We need him. He's fucking awesome, and he is a shooter. And last I checked, the NBA has figured out that 3 points are worth more than 2. So I need this man to go high. I think Trace Jackson Davis is a big one for us, TJ. I think having Trace Jackson Davis go in the first round is going to be a big one. Jaime Jaquez is another one where like does not jump out. Like you watch him play at the college level and you're like, this dude is an insane college basketball talent, but I also don't know how much his game's going to translate to the next level. I need to see the NBA scouts believe in him. I need to see him have a good NBA career. And then after that, I don't know. I'm still putting together my list of the guys that we're rooting for as college basketball fans, that we need to see them break up the foreigners, the fucking like the kids that go to like the relevant schools that somehow like on draft night pop up, and everyone and you're sitting there at home on your couch, you're like, I watched so much college basketball this year, I've never heard of this guy. Where did this guy come from? Like Jalen Williams at Santa Clara last year, who's had an incredible rookie year. We got to put an end to that, TJ. I want to get back to the days where the best college, like the other thing that is flying under everybody's radar is Oscar Tshiebwe, National Player of the Year a couple years ago, is stayed in this draft, is not going back to Kentucky, is hoping to hear his name called next Thursday. Probably will not hear his name called. We need Oscar Tshiebwe drafted. We need, even Luka Garza got drafted. Frank Mason was a second round pick, but that happened. Like we need, if you're going to win National Player of the Year, I need you to get drafted. And there's a serious concern that Oscar Tshiebwe will not get drafted. So that's something I don't know, I'm worried about. I put that on my list of.
Can I ask a dumb question or maybe an ignorant question?
Go ahead.
Where do you watch Overtime Elite games?
I have the Overtime Elite Plus package. It's only $39.99 a month, but no, I don't know, dude. I think on Facebook, I think on like Twitter.
I don't like all these guys. It's annoying as a college basketball fan, like you're saying, that not even do I not know enough about these guys. I don't even know how to know more about them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the same is true of the EuroLeague guys. I mean, if we're being completely honest, like Victor Wembanyama, like nobody's actually. If we really, the people that have seen him play probably saw him play against Scoot Henderson in the little exhibition they did. Otherwise, it's just clips you see put out, or like I guess there's a world where you could be like a big time sicko and watch full games on YouTube like after the fact. But I don't know if they live stream or not. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question, TJ. Who the hell knows? G League's a lot easier to follow than Overtime Elite. I'll say that. There are serious concerns about the Thompson twins playing in Overtime Elite. Overtime Elite is a fucking joke, for real.
Yeah, I don't really understand exactly what it even is. Like, it's just like where all the best players go because they can get paid, but you can get paid in college now. So I don't know what's.
I think it's because they don't want to take classes. I really do. I think like that's it. Is like they're like we don't, or they can't get in. I don't know. They can't get into college.
How many classes do you have to take if you're a one and done in college? Like 5, like total in a full. That is crazy.
No, you're right. But the Thompson twins were. I think Amen's better than Osar. They're both like athletic as shit, and they're both going to be very high draft picks, but I think there are some serious concerns about the overtime because like the G League, I'll make fun of the G League forever as like a path to the G League. I like as a minor league situation. I like the idea of guys who are in the NBA that aren't getting a ton of burn, like having that outlet to go down to the G League and develop their game and all that sort of thing. I love the G League for that. The G League path out of high school I will always make fun of is like that's because like the NBA people like pushing that as like a far better move than going to college is absurd. They're morons. But the competition is at least like legitimate and is like that checks out. Like that's actually like I don't have doubts about whether Scoot Henderson can play against good basketball players. Like I kind of do. If you're someone that's like I like Amen Thompson's game, but I can't trust that anything I've seen out of Overtime Elite matters whatsoever. I would nod along and be like, yeah, I mean that checks out to me. The Overtime Elite's a joke. But yeah, you look at the. I mean, like Taylor Hendricks from Central Florida is another guy who is people are very very high on. Ask college basketball people, like ask diehard college basketball people, what was your favorite Taylor Hendricks moment this season? Like what game would you say was the Taylor Hendricks game to you? They'd be like, who the hell is that? Which is not a knock on Taylor Hendricks. It's just like this is the world we live in now, where like the guys who that you're consuming the most of on the college level are not the guys who are Ohio's on the draft boards. And I think this year is the worst I've ever seen that divide. This is the worst I've ever seen it. And it's just it's a bunch of freshmen that were on teams that I mean Grady Dick was relevant, I guess. He's good. Jarris Walker was very good, but even he was like not the face of Houston. It wasn't like he was, you know, Jarris Walker is going to be a top 10 pick, but he was not like so I just to say it this way, real ones knew. Like real if you were watching Houston, you knew Jarris Walker was really fucking good. You knew he was going to be a great pick, but like also, it was not uncommon for ESPN to like open up a Houston broadcast and just be like Marcus Sasser and the Houston Cougars taking on, and like they don't really profile Jarris Walker that much. So that was something else that jumps out to me about this draft that I'm sure I'll talk to Sam about a lot. And then the third thing, TJ, I'm not there yet. I'm 95% there, but I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on Wembanyama being a bust. I think I'm doing it. I think I'm just like still like fleshing out my full case, which I'll have ready next week. But I think I'm doing it, dude. I saw the headline of he's playing in the French league or the Europe, whatever. But I'm not gonna pretend like I follow it. He's in the finals, the NBA finals, but for whatever league he's in. And in game 1, he scores 8 points in a blowout loss. He gets blown out. He scores 3 for 9 from the field and scores 8 points. And then in game 2, he scored like 19. And like the propaganda coming out of Europe was that he was so much more assertive and dominant. I think they lost by 10 in game 2 as well.
But
So
there'll be like 25 clips of each of those games somehow. Like, he really did it to him in the playoffs.
dude, the NBA put out they put out a tweet, a clip where Wembanyama is like cherry picking. The other team scores on the other end, and they immediately inbound the ball, throw it up the length of the floor to him. He catches it under the basket, takes one dribble, and dunks it. And then the NBA put out a tweet that was like Victor heating up or something like that with like smoke coming out of the nose emoji, and they're down. They're down however many points.
Big three to go down 41 meme.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater, but maybe I am a hater. But if this man is really the best prospect, because that was to go back to Woj. I mean, I almost said like not to pile on Woj, but yes, to pile on Woj. This was the man that was on television saying that Victor Wembanyama is the greatest prospect ever and better than LeBron when LeBron was coming out of high school and all that. 8 points does not seem. I mean, I understand that there's more to the game than just one guy. So like even losing to an experienced, my understanding is the team they're playing is like very veteran and experienced, and he's 18 years old, and like I don't. If you want to make the case, it's like LeBron playing the Spurs in the finals, early in his career when he got swept. Like that doesn't really reflect poorly on LeBron. It was just he's young and he's playing against like a juggernaut of a team, whatever. All that's fine and well. LeBron still played pretty well in that series. LeBron's still putting up monster numbers in that series. Victor Wembanyama scoring 8 points, TJ. I don't know.
LeBron kind of like shattered like the athlete expectation system too, because he was so hyped from so early and outperformed like everything we ever thought he could be. And now like every like probably like 2 to 3 years we get another athlete that's like this is the next like greatest athlete of all time. Like Bryce Harper got like the chosen one treatment. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and he's been great, MVP and World Series champion. He's not going to be the best baseball player in the history of the sport. Like Zion was hyped since he was like a freshman in high school. That's obviously not going well. Like we get this every once in a while where for Wembanyama to be a bust, I don't think that's like necessary. It's he would have to be a all-time player in order to not be a bust.
At this point, with the hype around him and the way people are talking about him entering this draft, if Victor Wembanyama is not a top 20 all-time player, he's a bust. He's a bust based on that. Like based on like actual logic and reasoning and all that. Like if you have a rational mind about it, like of course he doesn't have to do that to have a great NBA career and still be worth a #1 pick. And
he's the greatest basketball prospect since LeBron James.
But Woj is saying he's better than LeBron James. They're saying better than LeBron James, a man who.
And Woj for Woj to say that about LeBron, who's known him for 25 years.
I think Woj and LeBron actually hate each other.
Really?
I think that's I think that's what that was. I think LeBron doesn't give him scoops.
So LeBron's jealous of Wembanyama getting Woj's attention.
Woj's whole deal is like I control the information, and by controlling the information, like I can ruin. Like Woj genuinely goes to bed at night believing he can ruin NBA players' career. He genuinely believes that, like, I don't know, take a guy like who's a good player but is not LeBron's level, like Julius Randle, for example. Julius Randle is a very, 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 very good basketball player. He's not LeBron James. There's a world where like Woj convinces guys of like Julius Randle's ilk that you're done in this league unless you play my game, unless you like give me scoops, unless you have to allow me to do this or else I'll do. And LeBron from the start was like, fuck all of you. I don't need to play this. Like LeBron was like, I'm above all of this because he knew how good he was, and so he never had to play that game. And I think that's why Woj. I think that's the beef with. And then Woj just but I was going to pile on, but I can move on. But for Wembanyama to be better, if the way the hype is got, the point is like at this point, if he's not one of the top 20 players ever, then it is going to feel like a little bit of a letdown. And you're right, like LeBron does get taken for granted in that regard. Like people hate LeBron. I'm not saying don't hate LeBron. Hate whoever you want. As it pertains to sports, like if you want to hate LeBron just because he's good, that checks out to me. Like I don't think you need more of a reason than that. You're just like I'm a fan of another team. I'm a fan of a team he never played on. So like I hate the guy because he beats my team. That checks out. But but you can't deny, like, the guy coming into the NBA was the hype was outrageous, and he somehow exceeded the hype. And that's for people to now say Victor Wembanyama is more hyped, or is even in the same stratosphere as that, when he's scoring 8 points in a fucking finals game. Like, what are we doing?
You'll need to see on like First Take in 2035 like a Wembanyama 35 a Wembanyama versus Jordan argument on TV.
Yeah.
I don't really foresee that happening.
The other thing about LeBron was that it didn't take him a while to get there either. The moment this man stepped into the league, he was killing. It wasn't like a Steph Curry deal where like Steph was pretty good as a rookie and then like got a little better, and then like, you know, year 4 or 5, whatever, however, I forget what year it was Steph started to blow up. But like then Steph really turned into the Steph we know and love. LeBron was that dude out of the gate, man. LeBron was like, game 1 is like, yep, there he is. That's the guy. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, if Victor Wembanyama is not averaging 25 points a game next year, it's gonna feel like a little bit of a letdown. The bar has been set so freaking high that as a takesman, as a guy sitting there with a microphone in front of him, TJ, I'd have to be insane not to say he's a bust. Like, that's the obvious play, right? That's the value pick. So I think I'm gonna do it. We'll do it. We'll do the preview next week, though. I gotta formulate my total take, my full take, though. Like, I don't just want to say he's a bust, because that's a hacky way to do it. You can't just say this guy's a bust and then someone's like, well, why is he going to be a bust? And then you're just like, I don't know, I just don't like him. That's not the way to do it. You gotta have the take fully fleshed out, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm working on it, though, and I'll take care of it next week. So,
do you think Wembanyama will get the same hype treatment for his debut game as LeBron did? Because if you remember that, before LeBron's first game, they Nike aired a commercial starring LeBron and a bunch of players on the Kings before he had even played one game. Yeah.
I think I want to say it will be, because I think it's like easier to watch. It's easier to generate hype for a kid now than it, just in the sense of like social media gets people foaming at the mouth. But nowadays people are more distracted by stuff. So like, I remember living through the LeBron's only a few years older than me, so I vividly remember LeBron entering the league. I remember watching LeBron play high school games. The hype for this man, it cannot possibly be understated. Like, the whole idea of putting high school games on television was started because of this man. Like, this was not a thing that was like going to happen until LeBron came along, and then they were like, we should put this man on TV, right? And then after that, they're like, that went pretty well. We should do more high school kids and put more high school games on TV. But yeah, LeBron was. I don't think so. That's the ultimate point. Is like the hype for LeBron was absurd, and rightfully so, and it all worked out. And for anyone trying to argue that like Wembanyama should be on that level, when he's scoring 8 freaking points, TJ, I think he could be an injury concern. I think that's a fair concern to have. Like, guys this big don't. If you're, yeah, I don't. Are we sure he's a sure thing, or is there a world in which he's just like an oddity? Because I do think like if you watch his highlight tape, you're like, this guy's absurd. Like, I cackle laughing watching some of his highlights. I'm like, this is absurd that any human being can do this. But is that the same as being a dominant basketball player?
I just worry about him going up against like a heavy body big man under the paint that's 15 years older than him one time, that wants to like back him down. Like, he doesn't look like a real person. He's so like long and thin. Like, that definitely should be an injury concern. I feel like nobody wants to address that, though.
I don't know. I'll address it next week. How about that? I'll work on the take, and I'll be back next week. Yeah, so we'll do a full draft preview next week when I have time to. It was just I was in NBA Finals mode, and then the finals ended, and I was like, I don't want to do a draft preview immediately after. I need to sink my teeth into draft content before we really go after it. So we'll do that next week. Pivoting to the U.S. Open. Excuse me. U.S. Open starts Thursday. It's the first time Los Angeles has hosted a major in 28 years. I believe it was the 95 PGA at Riviera was the last time it was in L.A. Last time a major in L.A. First U.S. Open in 75 years. And it's a big deal around these parts. People are going crazy about it. I went over on Tuesday. I went to practice. The U.S. Open, and it dawned, I said this at the top, but it dawned on me this week. I think the U.S. Open is my favorite major. I just forget that it's my favorite major until it comes around, and then I get very excited about it. I think it being on, I think Championship Sunday being on Father's Day plays into that. If it's not baseball, it's golf as the one sport that like the father-son bond is like, that's what my dad taught me how to shoot a basket. My dad and I spent more time shooting a basketball than anything other sport we played. Like he would be out in the driveway just shooting basketball. And yet when you like picture the like sports moments with your father, it's probably him teaching you how to throw a baseball or swing a golf club. Like those are the two that like resonate the most. So I think that plays into it. But I always love that the courses are so hard. Like that's the US Open thing, is that they're trying to like build a course where the winner shoots even par. And if you could shoot even par, like finish 1 under, you are worthy of being the US Open champion. I always love that because I don't know. That's like it's easier to digest that way. It's easier to like, if you tell me a guy is like -7 at the U.S. Open, I immediately know what that is. I don't need to know what course it is. I don't need to know where the other guys are at in the field. I'm just like -7 at the U.S. Open. He's fucking killing it. That's incredible. That's incredible. Whereas all these other tournaments, you just don't know. You need more context. You need to know the conditions. You need to know all that sort of thing. So I'm fired up. I'm fired up about the U.S. Open. I went over on Tuesday, and I just jotted down a bunch of notes. So this is just like a dumping of my notes. I don't know how coherent they all are, but I just wrote a bunch of shit down, and I thought I would go through them all. Do a little journalism, TJ. Boots on the ground stuff. I want to start with the Los Angeles Country Club impressions. So I've lived in LA for over 4 years now, which is not a long time. I don't mean to say that is like I've spent a huge chunk of my life here, but it's long enough that I've lived on the west side the whole time. I used to live right at the divide of Beverly Hills and West Hollywood was where I lived for about a year, which is not too far from where the Los Angeles Country Club is. I now live in Marina del Rey, which is also not too far, about 20-minute drive to where the country club is. I worked at Fox for 3 years, where we were working out of the Fox lot, which is right across the street from the Los Angeles Country Club. And I shit you not, TJ, that I don't think I knew this thing was there. I don't think I knew that this golf course. Yes, and the face you're making is appropriate. You're like, how the hell could you not know that this golf course is there? And I'm going to tell you why. This golf course is the most Illuminati bullshit I have ever seen in my life. I have the reason. So like this is the one of the reasons this is the first major in LA in a long time is because all these LA country clubs are just up their own ass and they don't want anyone else to be there. No country club is up its own ass more than Los Angeles Country Club. I go to the practice and then I'm like, how the fuck did I not know that this was here? Like, how did I? In fact, when I was at Barstool in New York for the Dozen deal, when we were doing the tournament filming, some of the guys there were like, are you going to the U.S. Open? It's out in L.A. You should go. And I told them, I was like, I don't know if I want to drive to... I didn't actually know where it was. I knew it was in the L.A. Country Club. I was like, I don't even know where the hell that is. Like, that could be in Orange County for all I know. And I'm not driving an hour and a half to go to golf. I was like, yeah, I probably won't go, whatever. So when I had a buddy reach out and say, like, do you want to go to practice? I was like, well, where is it? He's like, it's over by Century City. I was like, they're doing the major by Century City? He's like, yeah, at the LA Country Club. I was like, there's a golf course right there? And he's like, and he goes, yeah, you know how you're driving on Wilshire and all those trees are lining Wilshire? On the other side of the trees is the golf course. And the whole point of telling you this story, TJ, is that the Los Angeles Country Club is structured so that if you are making less than like $10 million a year, if you do not have the right last name, you will not see one blade of grass on this country club ever, unless they allow you to. Like, there's no world in which so like on the one hand, I feel like an absolute moron for not knowing that this was there. But on the other hand, they go to great lengths to make sure guys like me do not know that they even exist, much less allow me to play a round of golf at this place. So that was impression number one. I was like, holy shit, this is like next level. I've seen some country clubs in my day. I have never seen a place in the middle of a city be so good at like hiding. Like, it pops up on a map, and then I'm looking at a map and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's been right there the whole time. I don't know how I didn't know this was here, but I just like you're going about your day. You're driving through Wilshire. You're driving through Santa Monica. You're just kind of focused on the thing in front of you, and you would never think that like this country club is right there unless you knew. And I guess the point is, like, I don't make enough money to know. I just never knew.
So who gets to play at these places? I never understand that. I hear like rumors of like club course. I'm not a golf guy, like club fees and stuff. And I'm like, who gets these invites?
So Los Angeles Country Club, my understanding, the initiation fee is like anywhere between $300,000 to like $500,000. And that's the initiation fee. And what the initiation fee is you pay that to then earn the right to pay dues, which are probably like $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year.
Why? I don't understand. So what kind of experience could possibly be? It's golf. I don't understand.
It's Illuminati shit, dude. It's just to like say you're in it. It's just to say, but the you have to be invited, and it's like one of the more exclusive. And I'll talk about that a little bit because I wrote down these notes just how absurd this place is that there was a sense, and I was just kind of like overhearing conversations and kind of like making small talk with a few people here and there, whatever. There's a sense that this place thinks of itself as Augusta National. They're like right there. They're like, it's Augusta National, it's us, and some days we might be better than Augusta National. And the reason they think that is because they all, like, my understanding at the Los Angeles Country Club is I think they do it 2 or 3 times a year. Every member goes to the country club. They all go into the basement. They light a bunch of candles in a circle, and then they all just jerk each other off for 3 hours. And they're all just like, just jerking each other off about how no one else can get into this club. And I'm sitting there just like, I don't know, man. I don't think I want to spend $500,000 to get into this club.
No experience on earth. Even if I had billions of dollars, that I think I'm paying $500,000 for any club entrance.
I'm shocked that they're doing the U.S. I'm shocked that that they wanted to host the U.S. Open, because it feels like a place that would not even want any, like, it feels like the kind of place that they wouldn't want to shut down for a week to allow other people to golf at or whatever.
They don't want cameras in. It's like North Korea.
Yeah. So initial impressions are the Illuminati vibes are off the charts of like, this is not even, again, I've seen some country clubs in my day. Not a ton. I'm not a country club kid growing up. I was a fucking like $5. I played at the cornfields that they put like golf. They put like golf flags just in the middle of a cornfield. And you pay $5 and peel your shirt off and just hack it around a cornfield for a little bit. Like, those are the courses I was used to. But this was unlike anything I've ever seen. Not in a good way. Like, if you're an LA country club member for some reason listening to this show. And I don't know why, in what world I would have anybody that's a member of this club listening to my show. I don't want you to take this the wrong way. This was not a good thing. Like, no part of me was like, this is cool. It was the exact opposite. I was like, this is the most pretentious. You're not Augusta. You're not. Like, you're not Augusta. Nobody cares how exclusive you are. I don't care that, like, all the celebrities that you turn down from this place and all that bullshit. Nobody cares about all that. Like, I just simply do not care. So shut the fuck up. That was my first impression. The course though. So I'm walking around the course, cause that's the other thing is like, this place is so exclusive that the course itself is like kind of secretive, and it's not like Fort Knox, but it's not exactly something that people have a ton of familiarity with. So, I don't even know how difficult the course is, how, like, what are the features of the course, all that sort of thing. The locals seem to think that the course is very, very difficult, but the vibe I was getting from the people that weren't members, or the people that like hadn't played it a lot, they seem to not be too scared of it. Like, as far as kind of what I was talking about earlier about like the U.S. Open is always that's the reputation this major has, is that the course will eat your lunch more often than not. It seems like the locals were like, oh yeah, this court, the greens are going to be tough. We're really fired up about the rough length and all that sort of thing. And it felt like some of the other, like, the guys that were on the tour, like not that I was talking to the actual golfer, but the guys that work, the guys that are in the golf, plugged into the golf world, just go see all these other courses and follow this thing and all that sort of thing. They seem to think it's like not that difficult for a U.S. Open, and they're like, they're actually a lot of shorter hole, like the par 5, the number 1 hole, the first hole is a par 5 that's like pretty easy, and a lot of people, there's a 78-yard par 3, so I think like there's a lot of that going on. Of the locals think it's hard, the not locals are like, there's this, we actually see a world in which we could post some serious scores. And every so often that does happen in the U.S. Open. Every so often, 2017, you get like a year where dudes are just, I think it was like minus 15 or 16 or 17 won it in 2017. So that'll be fascinating. There were a lot more hills than I thought. There was a lot of the handful of golf events I've ever been to in my life, though. I feel like I say that about every single one of them. Where you're walking around, you're like, damn, there are a lot of hills. But it felt like this course had a ton of like the fairways were wobbly. There was a lot of there were a lot of fairways where you could hit it in the fairway and it would roll down to the wrong part of the fairway and all that sort of thing. And it was more exercise than I realized. And I went into it knowing I was going to be a lot of walking and I was going to be out in the sun and on my feet all day. And I still was like, damn, there were a lot more hills than I realized. So I don't know if that's going to help anybody. I wrote that down. I wrote down, shut the fuck up about the Barranca. So this goes back to what I was saying earlier. The Los Angeles Country Club seems to believe that they invented ditches in golf courses, and they have these like ravine/ditches that like are basically like rivers or streams on other golf courses, but in Los Angeles, because more often than not it's a drought out here, it's a desert in Los Angeles, so the water has all dried up at this point, and they have these like just picture a dried up creek, you know. That's what, and they cut through the course, and there will be some that like cut through the fairway or like right before the green or whatever. And they call them barrancas. I believe I'm saying that correctly. And I'm just like every time everyone's talking about the barrancas, I'm just like, dude, this is what you're describing is just a ditch. Like this is a ditch. This is something that exists on golf courses all over this country. Like I don't understand what makes you think that this is special. I don't care about the vegetation within I don't care about like, it's Barranca. Yeah.
A narrow, winding river gorge.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the thing of Los Angeles Country Club. And like, I get it. Like, it's not, it will come into play. Like, there are holes where you could hit it into that shit and have a lot of problems getting out of it. And you have to take it into account. But I just don't understand why the Los Angeles Country Club feels like they get to invent their own word for ditch. It's just a ditch. You just hit the ball into the ditch.
Get to know the Barranca, a key feature of LACC's North Course.
Yeah. So, I don't. Do you think you invented ditches? Is that what you think, Los Angeles Country?
Are you allowed to just invent a new like feature of land?
Are you allowed to like? Yeah. Can you do that on a? Could we design a golf course? What's the next thing in golf? What's the next hazard? We have sand and we have water. Like, what could you put?
Lava.
Like, just lava.
Volcano on the course, or like a biohazard, like toxic waste in a pond, like your ball dissolves.
Yeah.
Or like just a bear in a cage, but if you hit it near the bear, you have to play it where it lies. What's
something that like people get hit out of, but
trampoline?
A trampoline, yeah. You have to hit it off a trampoline. There's just like a big trampoline, like right on the side of the green, and if you miss the green, it hits the trampoline and just bounces into the.
That would be a very
great
exciting
fucking idea, dude.
Trampoline or ice.
I played some par threes that put nets up at the park. There'll be like a hole going into the clubhouse or like going into the parking lot where if you overshoot the green, you're gonna hit it into like all the cars and everything. So enough time, there've been enough instances of guys like drilling cars, like, you know, it's a par three, so dudes you're supposed to just be using your pitching wedge and chipping on, but some asshole inevitably like just pulls out like a 6-iron and just fucking smokes it into the parking lot, and so they put up nets. But then it kind of backfires because my instinct every time I see a hole like that on a par 3 course is I want to like hit driver off of the net and like bounce it onto the green.
Yeah, like arena football, you can like bounce off the walls. Yeah.
But yeah, the Barranca is the star of the. If you have paid zero attention to U.S. Open coverage this season, and the first coverage you're going to get is turning it on Thursday or maybe even Sunday, you're going to wait till Sunday or Saturday or something. Just be prepared to hear the word Barranca like 29,000 times. And when they say that, they're just talking about a ditch. It's a ditch. It's just literally a ditch. So, holes walkthrough. So I wrote down my hole walkthrough. So here's the walkthroughs. I'm getting par on number one. Like number one, I stood in the middle. I was crossing over number one. You walk into the venue. We were trying to go to like hole 8, I think is where we ended up. But like we crossed hole 1. I stop in the middle of the fairway. I look back at the tee box. I look down at the green, and I say to myself, I'm getting a par on this. It's a 578 yard par 5. I'm piping at 275. Maybe I get the hips into it, hit it 300, but that bitch is going right down the fairway. The fairway's a mile wide. I'm placing it perfectly in the fairway. I'm hitting a solid 5-iron as a layup, and then at that point I'm looking at what, like 95, 80, somewhere in there yards to the green. At that point, it's pitch and putt. I'm automatic with that all day. So I'm I'm easily getting a par 5 on hole number 1. Hole number 1 did not scare me at all. I looked at hole number 1. I said, this is easy. This is not U.S. Open. This is easy. I'm absolutely parring it. I'm sure the pros are going to be getting birdies. Maybe we'll see some eagles. I don't know, but I'm laughing at hole number 1. Hole number 2 is a kick in the dick, TJ, and that's when it gets real. Hole number 2, a 500-yard par 4. The ditch, the barranca is right in front of the green, and I'm 100% hitting it into that. So you're looking at 500 yards, hole 2. Even if you hit a hell of a drive, your second shot is still like a mile away, and then if you leave it short, it's falling into the ditch. So I think hole 2 is right around the time my round falls apart. So that's what I learned.
Better than most.
I was like, hole 1, I think I'm going to be pretty good. Hole 2, I'm going to look around and be like, fuck this course. I want my $500,000 initiation fee back.
As you should.
Holes 6 and 8 are my favorite. So hole 6 is a drivable par 4 with a blind tee shot. It's like 330, I want to say, from the tee box, which is not fully drivable for me, but if I have the wind at my back and I get a good roll, there's a world in which I could drive at 330. Maybe, and I'm 10 years younger. The pros won't have a problem with it, but a drivable par 4 where you can't even see the green is, in my opinion, that is literally the perfect golf hole. That is why I golf. I don't even love to golf that much, but what keeps me coming back is when I step on a tee box and I'm playing with a guy who's played the course before, and I look up and I don't see a flag, and I'm like, where are we hitting this? And he's like, oh, so this is a par 4. You could probably actually get it there if you just hit it right over that tree, and then the green is just down there somewhere. So just like, if I was you, I would aim at that tree right there and just let it rip. And when I get told that, I'm like, yes, because what you do is you do exactly that. You point that way, you have no idea what the hell's down there. You let it rip, and then you say, I'm sure it opens up down there. That's what you say. You hit the ball, and you're just like, I'm hoping it opens up down there, and then you you get up.
Holes down there somewhere.
Holes down there somewhere. So I loved hole 6. Hole 6 was I'm going to be watching hole 6. I'm going to be watching a lot of hole 6 because I want to see guys going for it. I want to see who lays up. That had my attention. And then hole 8, I spent a lot of time sitting in the grandstand by hole 8. Hole 8 is a par 5 that is very reachable into distance-wise, but the fairway slants a little left to right, but then there's a tree in the way on your there's going to be a tree in the way on the second shot almost always. So if you're right-handed, you have to draw it around the tree onto the green. But the problem is that the fairway's tilted, so like the ball is probably going to be below your feet, and when the ball's below your feet, it typically goes to the right, and what you need to do is get it to go to the left. So that whole dynamic was super fascinating to watch guys on their approach shots, because guys can go for it. I think there are going to be a ton of eagles on hole 8, but watching guys try to navigate in practice was very fascinating to me. That is a hole that I see the layout of, and I say to myself, I'm definitely getting an eagle on this, and then I go and play it, and I get like a 9 or a 10. That's because I would definitely hit it in the ditch and hit it in the sand and all that other thing. So those are my 2 favorite holes. I wrote those 2 down. And then the other ones I wanted to point out, I stood at the tee box of hole number 11, and I said, are you fucking kidding me, at least 5 times. Hole number 11 is diabolical. Hole number 11 is a 290-yard par 3, which does not play at 290 because it's downhill, but that actually, for the pros, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal. For a dumbass like me, that actually like makes it worse because like I don't know how to calculate downhill. They say play it at like 270 or something, but still, that's even 270 is an absurd distance for a par 3. A 290-yard par 3. It's downhill. There are bunkers in front everywhere. And then if by some act of God you overhit it, if you overhit your 290-yard par 3 shot, which I imagine most guys won't, but maybe they will. There's an absurd drop off that like you're now to get up and down from there, you have to like chip it over a fucking mountain to get it back on the green. That hole is an absolute nightmare, and I stood there for a good half hour, I don't know, just like my jaw on the ground. Like, how the hell would anybody, like, why would you be a member here and allow this hole to exist, is what I said. I was like, why, for all the rich people that are members of this club, like, why would you not, like, At some point, somebody has to step up and be like, "This is a horrendous hole. Like this, I don't want to play this anymore." So, and then one of the guys that was working the hole told me that a lot of the players were skipping the hole. So I found that interesting because I was asking, I was like, who all have you seen come through? And he's like, honestly, there've been a lot of dudes that just skip this hole because I think they don't even want to mess with it. And I was like, that doesn't seem like the right strategy. I feel like you should practice it if you think it's hard. But yeah, hole number 11, keep an eye on that one. And then lastly, hole 15 is a par 3 that can play as short as 78 yards. I think they said it goes up to like 124. Depends on where they put the tee box and the flag, obviously. But there's a belief that they're going to play it at 78 yards on one of these days. Hole 15. Everyone says there are bunkers everywhere around this green. I didn't see them when I was by the tee box. All I saw was the flag. Like it felt like it was 10 yards away, and I said to myself, that is pitch and putt all fucking day, dude. That's a hole-in-one hole if I've ever seen one. So the locals were trying to say that it's more difficult than it looks, all that sort of. I'm like, dude, you're 78 yards away. I mean, that is a walk in the park. That's a joke of a hole. That's a
throwable hole.
It's a throw. You throw the ball. So that was my impressions of the course. Were like every hole seemed to be either like I'm shitting my pants at how hard this is, or I'm laughing at how easy this is, and there was like kind of no in betweens. So there you go. That's the course walkthrough. What else? What else did I write down? Oh, I didn't care about that, TJ. I don't care about this. You think I was there to see who was gonna win, dude? I was there to drink and observe the Illuminati in their element. Moscow Mule I got was pretty strong. Not a ton of ice. Ginger beer is a little flat, so keep that in mind if you go. And just felt it was a little flat. Just not a lot of carbonation. I was looking for a little. It was a little hot out. I wanted something refreshing. Just didn't really. It was good. It was strong. They made it strong, but it was just wasn't what I was after. Not great bathroom options. I wrote that down. Porta potties everywhere, which might be normal at golf tournaments, I guess. I don't do a lot of golf tournaments, but I was hoping for like some of those. I was hoping for like the trailer type temporary toilets, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that's a good in between. That felt like more golf to me. Would be like the trailer ones where it's like these. I obviously didn't expect like plumbing on every hole, but I was just looking for a little more class, and like when they're like pointing to porta potties and they're like go piss in that. I don't know, just didn't vibe. I was like, this feels like I'm at the Indy 500, so this feels like a little more blue collar than like what I would expect out of like. Where does my $500,000 initiation fee go? Is what I wanted to say. Where's so didn't love that. What else? I had a few more things. Merch tent was absolutely insane. So there's that. I don't know. It was the best merch tent I've ever seen at a sporting event. I don't know if it's the best merch tent in sports. I haven't been to all the merch tents out there, but this one was like a fucking city block of just like literally picture any type of merch you could buy for anything. And they were selling it with the Los Angeles Country Club 123rd US Open logo on it. It was crazy. That was awesome. So I wrote that down. Not an overwhelming LA vibe from the crowd, I said. There were a lot of. It still felt like a golf crowd. Like I was curious as to whether there'd be a lot of LA douchebags walking around the course. There were not. It was definitely a golf crowd. But there were still like some sprinklings of LA. I saw some velour on a golf course. I've never seen that before. I saw some parachute pants on a golf course. I've never seen that before. So they were still there. There were still like some reminders that you're in LA, but there was not like an overwhelming vibe of like, if you looked at the crowd, you wouldn't be like, this is so obviously Los Angeles, which you can get a lot of at certain sporting events. So I don't know. I think that might be it. LA rich kids. I sat behind these LA rich kids. They were pissing me off. I hated them. One kid was like, he was talking about applying to colleges, and his dad came over, and his dad was wearing a member's, like some sort of like, he was a member of the club, and the kid was talking about which colleges he was applying to, as he was also talking about the gin and tonic he was drinking. He was drinking a gin and tonic, but he's talking about the college he's applying to, and he's just openly drinking, which like, I'm not a narc, but then I was also like, dude, I wish I was a rich kid, because like when I was your age, dude, if we were like caught within the vicinity of alcohol, you're shitting your pants about someone busting you, and this kid's just like rattling his gin and tonic. He described his gin and tonic as a vibe at one point. I absolutely hated him. I hated his guts. And then he was talking to his friends He introduced one friend to another one of his friends, and he called his one friend his rich friend, and that's when I really wanted to punch this kid, because his dad is a member of the Los Angeles Country Club, and he's drinking gin and tonics out in the open, and then he described his friend as rich. So those are my notes, dude. That's it. I don't know if that helps anybody. I don't know who's going to win, but I had a great day at the course. It was cool to be there. There was a sense of like the foreplay guys are I've never been more jealous of, like, is this their life? Is this what they do? They just like go.
It's the greatest boondoggle in the world.
It's insane. I've never been more jealous of anything in my life. I got to get in on this. We got to talk more golf on the show, obviously. Like, how do I?
That's the secret formula here at Barstool. You get into golf content, you start selling golf merch, then golf equipment, then you get to retire to Scottsdale.
You want to talk about a joke of a profession? I mean, like, my God. Like, I also have a joke of a profession, but like you just travel around and golf, dude.
Yeah, you chose rundown gyms across the Rust Belt, and like Riggs chose like luxurious resorts. you fucked that up.
I fucked up, dude.
Was there any weird vibes around the whole Live PGA merger, or no? Nobody cares?
Yeah, I mean, like it felt. I wouldn't say there was like a tense thing in the air, because like most of the people I would say that were there did seem to just be like, if you're going on a Tuesday practice, you just got to be like you just want to like see some golf, and like you're not really, I don't know. So I don't think it was that, but it wasn't like tension in the air where like you're walking by and you're like, uh-oh, there comes Brooks Koepka, and there it goes, uh-oh, they're gonna but every so often I'd be walking, and like I would like see a guy doing a report into a camera, and he's like talking about the situation, and you just like walk by and you see a reporter that's just like, and of course the Saudis have, and 9/11, who would forget that fateful day, and then this country, and I'm just like, God damn, that's right, they are dealing with this, but this is not a PGA event, so I think that's why it's not quite as big of a deal. It's a USGA event, which is different. So
oh, my bad.
No, it's
how much I know about golf. I figured that this would be like clashing heads.
So it's technically not a PGA deal. Like the people that are putting it on are the United States Golf Association. So in that regard, I think it's like a little less. I think the USGA is like, keep that shit over there. Like, we're going to put on a fun event, and then you can pick up where you left off. So anyway, that's it. Those are my notes. Shout out Maxwell Moldovan. How do you say his name? Sorry, Max. I don't know how to pronounce your name yet, but I'm working on it. A kid that I didn't even realize was in the U.S. Open. He's an Ohio State player, TJ. He just finished his junior year at Ohio State. He's about to be a senior next year. He's playing in the U.S. Open. He set the program record at Ohio State 3 straight years for the lowest score average. So he's a juggernaut, and I'm going to be pulling for him in this U.S. Open. But yeah, shout out to him. That's about all I have as far as U.S. Open notes go. I will not be going. I looked up price. Like, I had a good time at the course. I was like, this is fun. I should do this more often. And then I looked up prices for to go back on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I was like, never mind. I'm just going to sit at home on the couch and fall asleep in the middle of the rounds and wake up to see the end, as is tradition for golf. So, all right, I think that might be it. College World Series.
The field is set. I believe it gets underway tonight or Friday.
Yeah, I think it's Thursday. I think it is Thursday. My one College World Series thought. I think the format might be dumb. I think the idea of a loser's bracket is anti-American, and I think. I think they should just do best of 3 for each round. Like, why can't you just do that? Why can't you just like have the 2 teams that are in the bracket playing each other? Just make them play a best of 3. Whoever wins the best of 3 moves on. And then we just keep doing it that way. I just don't like a loser's bracket.
It's when I went, my number one takeaway from it is it's so much baseball, because it's one field. So none of the games are ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's never simultaneous games happening. It's at least 2 games a day. Like, usually, like during the week, it's a day game and a night game, but it's just a marathon of baseball because it's one field that every single game is played at. So like,
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, if there's rain delays, like there's when we went, people said, oh, there's always one rain day. That's like a big like thing in Omaha, I guess. The rain day throws everything off axis, because then they have to play like a 10 p.m. start game or like an 11 a.m. start game. Like, if you like baseball, you need to go, but it's so much baseball. Like even for me, like I love baseball. It was a lot of baseball, and we went to almost every game.
That's a ringing endorsement, actually. I feel like they would be proud. That's a good
yeah.
That should be their tagline. College World Series. It's so much baseball.
So much baseball. You walk outside the stadium and it's like a baseball street festival happening. Like the restaurants are baseball themed. It's a lot. It's great, but it's a lot of baseball. If I were to go back, I would probably not choose to go to every single game.
Team I'm riding with. I wanted to do Wake Forest because I told you Wake Forest is like the one team I've been hearing all season is awesome. But then upon doing more research, I have discovered that Wake Forest is the basic bitch pick, and I do way too much of that already where I just take the number 1 seed. I'm a front runner, you know? Who do you think's going to win? I'm like, who's the favorite? I pick them. So I don't want to do that. I can't pick Florida or Oral Roberts for personal reasons. I can't do either one. But speaking of Florida and Oral Roberts, remember when Oral Roberts beat Florida in the 2021 NCAA tournament? That was embarrassing for Florida. Tennessee is in it, and I remember Tennessee baseball, maybe it was last year, 2 years ago. I remember watching like a random Tennessee baseball game, and I was like, this has to be a joke. This is like you could not script, like a fucking teen comedy movie would not have a more unlikable group of athletes I've ever seen in my life. Holy are they still that way?
They're villains. Last year, they were like the greatest team in the history of college baseball in the regular season. 2 years ago, they were wearing, I think it was actually a Barstool hat. It just was like a hat that said Daddy. They would put on whoever hit a home run. They have like an extremely like asshole coach. They're like a villainous college.
I caught one game and I was like stunned at how every single guy that appeared on, it wasn't like there's like I was like, Duke basketball's not even that bad because Duke basketball will at least have like 1 or 2 guys where you're like, I don't completely hate him.
It's a typecast roster,
dude. It was every single guy I saw. I was like, holy shit, this guy sucks too. So I'm not going to cheer for Tennessee. I like LSU. I like the idea of LSU, but LSU fans came at my neck for simply pointing out the undeniable truth that Kim Mulkey sucks, which is not even controversial. It's just like as clear as saying the sky is blue. And I'm still a little sensitive about that, TJ. So I'm taking a moratorium from LSU, from cheering for LSU for any reason. So I'm out on LSU right now. I'll work my way back in some capacity. Their basketball team, I don't mind. Maybe that gets me back in at some point. But like for right now, it's a little too fresh. The Kim Mulkey shit that I was just like, yeah, Kim Mulkey sucks. And then LSU fans were like, how dare you? I don't get it. She sucks. You should be like, yeah, she sucks, but she's our coach. And I don't know. Lean into it a little bit. Be more like the Tennessee baseball team, you know? Like lean into the branding. Be the villain. So that leaves TCU, Virginia, and Stanford. Stanford is the team I'm pulling for. I like all three. I saw Stanford advanced on a routine pop fly against Texas. I thought that was funny. That they just hit a moonshot that gets lost in the lights. That was hilarious. I think I'll go with Virginia though. I got ties to Virginia from riding with them with God's Plan in 2019 basketball. That was a fun little ride we went on. So I'll pull for the Wahoos. I think I'll root for the Wahoos. But if either one of those three win, I won't mind. And truth be told, I would like to see Wake Forest win it. I like the idea of Wake Forest winning the baseball title. But
Omahoos is what they call themselves when they're in Omaha.
There you go.
That's a big thing. Is every team has a spin on that. Like Omahogs is what Arkansas calls themselves, even though they choke their way out of the tournament every year. There was a bunch. I like LSU. I think they have a kid named Tommy Tanks. That's not his real name, but his name's Tommy, and he hits tanks. Every highlight I see, if he's like got all of like the baseball player swag, where he has like a mullet and chains and 10 pads on at the same time while he hits. And every time I see a clip of him hitting, he hits a ball like 600 feet over the scoreboard.
All right, well now you might be talking to LSU.
And they have like one of the best pitchers left, Paul Skeens, who's going to be like a top 5 draft pick this year. So, and also I just think LSU is like the coolest college team in. Yeah, overall.
I like LSU in general. But I just I have my reasons, CJ. It's just like you don't want to see the same people that were in my mentions call them,
I would feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't want to see them be happy. So
they also just got to lift the national championship. Like,
right. Spread the wealth out a little bit. Is that it? Anything else? Oh, I had this. I was reminded of this story that I thought I'd share. So talking about we talked about the draft a little bit today. Draft season coming up. NBA draft next week, obviously. And talking about how I was too scared to text Mike Conley. I remembered this story, TJ, that I have been the one NBA draft in my life, and it was the 2007 NBA draft. And the reason I drove myself to New York because Mike and Greg and Daquan, my 3 teammates, were getting drafted. Also, Josh McRoberts was in that draft, who I played AAU basketball with in Indianapolis, and he was coming out of Duke. He was a year older than us, but he was coming out of Duke and ended up being a second-round pick. And I wanted to be there to support my friends, and you know, I was like, this is cool. And I've also never been to a draft and all that sort of thing. I didn't even tell these guys I was going. I did not sit at the table in the green room because I didn't tell anybody that I was going. I said to myself, these guys that I just got done going on a Final Four run with, that I have known for most of my life, and I'm very close with, are about to get drafted. And I said, I'm sure they're going to be busy. I'm sure they have other people to talk to and shit. I don't even want to tell them I'm here. So I drove to New York with my brother. We made our own arrangements with hotels and all that thing. And I bought the cheapest ticket that we could get because I had no money. And we sat in the top row of the theater at Madison Square Garden. And I watched the 2007 draft from the top row. And Mike and Greg didn't even know I was there. And Daquan, they didn't even know I was there.
Dude, you are way too nice. I is what I am gathering from doing this podcast.
And the whole rationale the whole thing going through my head was like, I mean, they're busy. They're like, this is like the busiest, like biggest moment of their, like, why did they don't want their dipshit friend from, you know?
Yeah, these guys definitely don't want like one of their best friends to be with them on the most important day of their life. You're right.
But I also didn't want to come across as like a hanger. Like, I didn't want to be that guy that was like, hey man, can I get some money? So I was just like, I want them to know that I'm not here for like clout. I'm not clout chasing. I'm not trying to get on TV. But I want my energy to be in the arena to like celebrate. So like when Greg gets drafted, I was losing my fucking mind. And Mike got drafted, you know, and Daquan, I was going crazy for all of them. But I was doing it from the top row because I didn't want to bother any of them.
A ridiculous move.
And I'm not that bad now. I've gotten better, but I'm still, you know, I just thought that was a funny anecdote that I would share, which I'm finding TJ, the more that I share with people, most people get a kick out of it. Most people are like, that's funny and interesting. And it's, you know, I have appreciated people that have reached out and been like, it's good to know that like, you know, there are other people that deal with like these social anxieties that I deal with and all this sort of thing. But I also dig myself a bigger hole with a lot of people as well. They're like, I knew you were a weirdo. I had no idea you were that fucking weird. I had no idea that you were, you know. So there are a lot of people that are turned off by every time I share something.
What was the conversation with those guys like? Like, how long did you wait before you told them that you actually came to New York and went to the draft?
They do the same thing they always do, which is like, why didn't you say something? And I was like, because you were busy. And then But I think if I remember right, that instance I actually was validated because then I said, well, what was your, like, you guys, what were you doing the few days of the draft? And then Greg's like, yeah, I guess I was, yeah.
But so you told them like, the night of, or
no, I told them like a couple days later. I don't know. Like
so you flew home and they had no idea that you were there the whole time.
I texted Greg that like I talked to him. I texted Greg like the morning of. For what it's worth, I did text him like, dude, it's been so long, so I don't remember all the specifics, but I do think I texted him like the morning of the draft where I was like, good luck tonight, boys. Like, I'm so happy for you guys. Like, this is awesome, whatever. And then after they get drafted, I text him like, fuck yeah, you did it. Like, congrats, all that sort of thing. But no, I don't think I was like, hey, by the way, I'm in New York. You guys want to link up? And then I told him like after the fact, when the next time I saw him, I was because immediately like after they get drafted, like Greg and Mike both, I think, but definitely Greg, I remember, like gets on a plane to Portland immediately, and he's got to go do the photo shoots and all that sort of thing. And he had a very hectic life for however many days, and then when it started to kind of slow down, I bumped into like we when I finally saw him again. I mentioned it in passing. He does the same thing he always does. Like, why the fuck would you not tell me, dude? Like, we were in New York the whole time. But then, like I said, I was validated because I was like, well, walk me through what your experience was like leading up to the draft. And then he's telling me all the stuff he's doing. So I was like, so Greg, when would I have saw you? Like, when would we have went and grabbed dinner or done anything? He's like, good point. I had no free time. And I was like, see, I was right. So I was right all along. I would have been a bother. If I would have told you I was in New York, you would have had to adjust your plans with like the agents you were meeting with and the teams and the NBA. And I didn't want to do all that. So I didn't want you to worry about it. Just go do you, and I'll see you guys later.
It was probably a safe play by you as well, because like, you went to the Final Four too. You could have got drafted that night, and you would have looked like an idiot if you weren't in the building on your own draft night. That would have been pretty stupid.
It's a good point. Maybe I was there just to make sure my name wasn't called. But I remember that story after we had talked about the texting Mike and with the draft coming up. I was like, I think that's worth sharing. So there you go. I thought I'd share that one. I shot to Chief and I'm at the top row. 2 of my childhood friends are getting drafted in the top 5, and I'm at the top row, just like, I don't want to bother you guys. Oh man, it's so funny. I think that might be it. You have any shout outs before we go?
You want to save the questions for next time?
Yeah, dude, I talk too much. I off-season shows, dude. I had too many notes about LA Country Club.
We'll do it on Tuesday, because as we get more into the off season, have less to actually talk about. Yeah. Those will be good. There's some good ones in there. Keep asking if you didn't get a chance to. They're on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah,
at Mark Titus Show.
Just tweet at Mark Titus Show or Instagram, whatever, and we'll start peppering those in. We'll just do a couple at the end of every episode. But yeah, I got a meeting I got to run to right now. So unfortunately, I think that's the end of the show. All right, enjoy the U.S. Open. Enjoy the College World Series. I'm gonna reach out to Sam Vecini. I don't know what I'm gonna do if he says I can't do the draft show, because I'm pot committed at this point. It's got to be Sam. But I'm gonna get Sam on the show next week, and we'll have a lot of fun talking. I'm gonna work on my Wembanyama bust take too, so we'll have that lined up. And everybody enjoy the weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, and we'll see you on Tuesday.